We're in sunny Buenos Aires, and for round 4, Bogdasarov on pole from Revo and Sebastian Ocampo. Then it's Tommy starting 4th, Marcus Nelson in 5th, then it's Arnett Babnis Jr. in 6th, Pablo Sierra in 7th, Tonali Gabo 8th, then it's Basti in 10, the Red Devil, Oscar Falstad, and Daf Sanchez. Then it's Zach Wallace, Enoch Yu, Remy LeBeau, and Santino Milan. Then Akari Lopez down in 17th. Then it's Pierre Gasly, Mohamed Nawawi, teammate Zaylane, Ukable, and Leo. 22 drivers on the grid. So then, the opening 3 rounds of the championship, very interesting. Renault on pole with the Cheetah alongside. All 5 lights go on. And we go green for the Buenos Aires Prix, and that's actually a very good start from Arnett Babnis Jr. We were flashing to him, but better start from Revo, already alongside him as soon as the gaps were shown on screen, and he's already up ahead of Daniel Bogdasarov. Tommy also with a very good start, up into 3rd position. Bogdasarov looking to the inside line of his challenger in front of him as, virtual safety car so early on, and that is for Zach Wallace, who is out of this race. Forced into the wall. That's an incident that you usually see up ahead in turn 3, but already a virtual safety car so early on into this Prix. And that of course means that the entire grid now into single file, 40% of their regular race speed, but Revo up into the lead ahead of Bogdasarov, Tommy, and Marcus Nelson. The top 4. Virtual safety car is ending. As we now go back racing, as on board with Nelson, rising up the hill at such speeds, a normal person would have their neck ripped off, but of course, high-performance athletes. And another virtual safety car for Santino Milan, home driver. Did not catch that one in the slightest, but for Santino Milan, this is his home race. That has to hurt at least a little bit. But we're back under the virtual safety car. And I think we can officially announce this now. Honda is leaving the championship as a powertrain supplier, and Braun will be leaving the championship. In their place will come the FG Series operation of Power Motorsport. So that's quite interesting. We go back racing then. And on board with Revo, and look at that, he's already pulled 2.3 seconds on Daniel Bogdasarov. Tommy sending it down the inside of Bogdasarov, still alongside each other. Marcus Nelson, Season 9 World Drivers Champion, following the 2 drivers in front of him. He's got attack mode on Tommy, and in turn should be able to at least go alongside Bogdasarov heading into turn 3. But there is still many drivers right behind him too, as 5-second time penalty into the wall, and out of the race goes the Red Devil. And that's a flip for the Killer Race Co driver, as well as that Pierre Gasly 5-second time penalty. Oh dear, that's another virtual safety car. We've had 3 in 2 laps. And I think Tonali Gabo, he's trying to get himself out, but he's being pushed by pretty much the entire field and is out of this race. And just one of the hardest incidents I've ever seen. Nelson, after all of that, now finds himself with a 5-second time penalty for causing a collision with Tommy in front of him. Just looks to be a little bit of a side bang. Pierre Gasly, who's up in 12th, but he does have a 5-second time penalty as well. And Volstad behind, I do believe he's the championship leader, having won 2 of the opening 3 races. So we now go back racing. He's down in 13th, and he's trying something different with a strategy. And just pointing this out, Sims Motorsport, they've made so many upgrades, and yet they just come to naught. And it's not through any of the drivers' fault, as look at that from Tommy. Up into 2nd position, wasn't even a contest for the Hong Kong driver. As look at this, Marcus Nelson being attacked by Babinets Jr. up into 4th for the Romanian. But look at this from Sebastian Ocampo in the slipstream of his old teammate in Daniel Bogdasarov. He's found himself up into 3rd. Tommy being fought off by who else but Pablo Sierra, going alongside the number 45 as they now come through the chicane, funneling through. You can only really do 2 wide. If you do 3 wide through there, it's going to be hard. Look at that, coming in hot. Marcus Nelson up into 5th position. The 2 Venturis behind looked as if they were going to try and go in 2x2. Almost a collision between Buenos Jr. and Tommy there, but they should be able, as they now come through the last part of the second sector. They could have been able to go 2x2, but no, they're deciding to do single file further back. Many overtakes for position. As Revo getting a faster second sector of anyone. He's 2.5 seconds ahead of Daniel Bogdasarov. He's found some sort of mastery of this circuit, I'd be guessing. And just touching on Braun Honda, this has just not been their season. Hopefully they can bring something good to the table next season. Revo's coming to the pit, so Bogdasarov now has the fastest lap. Look at this from his teammate though, sending it down the inside on Sebastian Ocampo to make it a Renault 1-2. Fastest second sector goes to UK Ball of all drivers. And for UK Ball, it's been 10 seasons since his championship triumph. Here comes Ocampo, the reigning Drivers' Champion, sending it down the inside on Pablo Sierra, and does get himself up into 2nd position. But now, or as Mohamed Nawawi also comes into the pits on his return to the championship, he's not really had the best return, but of course could be much worse. On all fronts, he does get the luxury of driving for a customer, not a customer team, the full works team in Mercedes EQ. But of course, they're not really supplying anyone. Most teams that are, most powertrain suppliers, most powertrains being supplied rather, they are the DS powertrain. The factory operation, of course, being DS Techeetah. As they now come up the hill, looking behind with Revo in the number 7. Following Oscar Volstad, this could be something to keep your eyes on coming through the 3rd sector. But as we now look to Daniel Bogdasarov, he's staying out. Sebastian Ocampo comes into the pits. Pablo Sierra comes into the pits. Even Marcus Nelson and Tommy, they've all decided to pit on this lap. And soft tires going on to the number 13. He's going to come out just ahead of Tommy as Remy Leboe comes in as well. Revo sending a fastest 3rd sector of anyone. Of course, he's got some of the fresh tires. He's got some of the freshest tires on the field as Bastian Tan versus Arnett Babinis Jr. And even when they're both quite worn down, Tacmo definitely helping to level the playing field as Leo comes in. Bastian Tan's hard tires, only real good thing that they can do is keep a driver out there for a long time. Because what the hard tires basically do, it's basically like slow mediums. It's into the wall. It's gone Arnett Babinis Jr. He's lost his front wing. Dav Sanchez looks as if he could have tried to make a move on Bastian Tan in front. But as we now come through the hill, airborne tank slapper for Arnett Babinis. And for Babinis Jr., well, he's gone on those soft tires for so long. 28% tire wear. If he was to try and do another lap, he would almost certainly get a puncture. As not Q and Revo following each other to try and get themselves further up the order. And Revo did get past Volstad further back on him now. On board with UK Ball then in the number 89. And again, I'll say this again because it does just kind of need to be said. This doesn't seem to be the same UK Ball who won in Sao Paulo in Season 1 as Sanchez and Babinis Jr., 2 drivers who weren't in Season 1, come into the pits. This doesn't seem to be the same UK Ball who helped Revo establish Revolution Racing as one of the teams who's to beat back in the earlier seasons of the FEMC, and this doesn't seem to be the same UK Ball who was driving for Nissan, filling in one of, if not the single most successful driver in this championship's history, and doing a very good job of being his replacement. This just seems to be him going through the motions at this point, probably waiting for Power Motorsport to come into the fray, and honestly, you can't really blame him. that is his team. But, of course, I'd wager that he'd like to bring some more success. As we've got a retirement, it's Oscar Falstad, championship leader, out of the race, and a virtual safety car to boot. Bastian Tan, his teammate, is leading the pack, but he's got Revo right behind him at half-race distance. Half-race distance, though, and his hard tyres are still doing pretty much okay. Not much else. Sebastian Ocampo's got himself a 5-second time penalty. That's something to know, and not Q's medium tyres definitely seemingly going off the cliff as well. I'd wager he's done the entire race on that so far. So we go on board with Marcus Nelson, who's following Bogdasarov. His teammate pulls out, going alongside Bastian Tan with attack mode, and back up into the race lead goes Revo. On lap 7 of 17, car number 7 takes the lead. As further back, the two Renault drivers going alongside each other in the blue machines, and yellow's in the final sector. And that's for Akari, is it not? He's gotten himself a missing front wing. He comes into the pits, still yellows, and that's for Leo, who's run over his own teammate's front wing. So that seems to have been a little bit of sabotage there, as if to hinder his own teammate. But of course, that's unlikely. Why would you do that to your own teammate, you know? That'd be stupid. Oh, full course yellow! Bogdasarov pole sitter out of the Prix. And his front tyre is actually still there. They should have that cleared up by the time Remy LeBeau comes through. And they have gotten that cleared up by the time Remy LeBeau has come through. And I'm sorry that we've been missing a lot of the crashes today. We have been spotting them, thankfully. But we've just been missing them, so we can't actually, show the incident. Of course, that would require me to figure out where and when the crash is going to happen. But for Bogdasarov, that's got to be even more painful. There's some dark clouds coming over. This might be it. And Sebastian Ocampo now going alongside his countryman in Bastian Tan. They're going to go 2x2 coming through this part of the track. Keep it out of the wall, Ocampo. Don't crash out. Up into second, in comes Revo and Bastian Tan. With 4 laps to go, Sebastian Ocampo sets a new fastest third sector. But there are darkening skies over this part of Argentina. Remy LeBeau, Dav Sanchez, Ionet Babinas Jr. does an QE pit as well. I'm not too sure. He's way back. Bastian's going on to Inters. What does Revo come out on? He's on softs! Oh my goodness me! They've missed it! I don't believe it! DS Automobiles! What's the guys who power this team can't believe what they're seeing! Formula E can't believe what they're seeing! It's raining in Argentina! And Revo's gone on to softs! He's gone out of the pits on soft tyres! He's gonna lose so much time here! And was it just that they had the wrong tyres ready? Did they not have the Inters at hand? They've definitely got a set of Inters to use. Is Revo's first teammate going on to... Oh, they've got yellows down in the second sector. Not too sure who that would have been for, but someone's definitely gotten themselves in a bit of trouble. But I can't find who. Once again, yellow's in the second. And it's for Bastian Tan of all drivers. Bastian's got himself quite a bit of damage once again. Yellow's down in that sector. So he's hit the wall most likely. And that's given himself a bit of a gap to Revo. So that's going to help him. So in comes Ocampo, Tommy, Marcus Nelson, Pablo Sierra, and way further back, Revo. But my goodness me, in the dying stages of this race, I did not expect a strategic flub up, the size of which I've never seen in this championship before. But anyway, in comes Revo for his third stop of this race. He should be going on to Inters this time, as in comes Bastian Tan with him. So Remy LeBeau up to 5th. He's actually going to be up into 3rd here for Kiro Renault. He's trying to give Kiro Renault their first ever podium. And if he can get himself closer to the back of Tommy in front, he could be going for a race win, his first race win in Argentina. like the Argentine driver on the grid, Santino Milan. Look at that. He's going for the lead. Remy LeBeau coming through turn 3 with 3 laps to go. For Kiro Renault up into second on the road, but since Ocampo's got a 5-second time penalty, Kiro Raceco are currently leading in Prix. If you're taking the penalty into account, of course, Remy would definitely want to try and lead this race. It's his debut season. It's his 4th race ever. 4th race ever for his team, Kiro Renault, in this championship. And to have the prospects to win a Formula E race, that's something that some drivers haven't been able to do. But especially for Remy, this is going to be something that he's going to cherish for a long time. The only other drivers on the grid who have won this early into the season, as we see Nelson and Tommy go alongside each other. But look at that from Marcus, he's closing in on Remy. Even if he gets past, it wouldn't change much. Remy LeBeau, fastest lap of the Prix at 1:28.250. I don't know if he's going to fight this too much. He might know that he's got a penalty, but he's still putting his car in a brilliant position to try and win his first career race in only his 4th start. Drivers who have done that before in their career, Cable, Sebastian Ocampo, B Dragon Sonic, they've gone on to become champions. However, Santino Milan got his one and only race win in similar circumstances, but of course without the penalty to aid. But of course still Remy is defending from the season 9 champion and from one of the greatest Hong Kong drivers in the history of motor racing, if you ask me. Tommy up into 3rd position again though, as they now rise up the hill. Try not to make contact challenge. Very much possible there. With 2 laps to go, Sebastian Ocampo leads, but with a 5-second time penalty. Remy LeBeau is second with the fastest lap of this Prix. He's going for maximum points, and it'll be the only points that Kiro Raceco are gonna score here today, because of course our other driver, the Red Devil, is out of this. Remy is currently scoring them their first podium, a fastest lap, and not just that, their first win, all at once. But onto the penultimate lap we go, and this is now down to Sebastian Ocampo. Can he build up a 5-second gap to the Kiro Renault man behind him? But he's not really trying to close in, is Remy. He's just keeping that gap pretty much solid. As we look to Marcus Nelson going alongside with Tommy coming through turn 2. Nelson's teammate in Revo down in 9th position. And that is the single biggest strategical failure that I've seen in this championship for a long while. Nelson definitely being covered up by Tommy as they now come through turn number 3. Here comes Daf Sanchez trying to go around the outside of the season 9 champion. And all of this infighting is allowing Remy LeBeau to get himself further up ahead of these guys. Sanchez and Nelson still fighting over 4th, so it's mainly going to be Tommy who's going to be the one to try and stop Remy from taking home his first race win of his career. As side-by-side contacts! Oh, contacts between Marcus Nelson and Daf Sanchez there. They went side-by-side through the hill, and they did bang wheels there. And look at that, still side-by-side, but now with Iron Buenos Jr. as they now head down the hill. It's 4th place currently for Marcus Nelson on the road, but on to the final lap for this man, Sebastian Ocampo. He's trying to make it only 2 unique winners in the first 4 races, him and Oscar Folstad. However, this man, Remy LeBeau, to win his first race in the championship, all he has to do is keep the gap between him and Sebastian Ocampo less than 5 seconds. And he will win this race. Buenos Jr. behind Marcus Nelson, trying to help his teammate in Tommy try and close in on Remy LeBeau, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Remy's going to try and win this. He's almost certainly got this. I think it's now Ocampo coming into the second sector of this track. Struggling with grip, having to go to where there's a lot more water there, so just to keep the inters cooler. It's almost as if the track drying at such a pace that you do need to look for all the water possible. But I think that's going to do it. They're rising up the hill now before the monumental drop in the fastest sector on the calendar for Sebastian Ocampo. It was a penalty that will rid him of a race win here in Argentina. It will drop him drop him to fourth, I believe, as he now comes through. But for this man, Remy Lebeau, his team Quero Renault, in only their first season, they've done so much with so little. He's going to come to the line. Ocampo wins on the road with the fastest lap, but Remy Lebeau will win the Buenos Aires E3 from Tommy and Marcus Nelson. Iron at Babinas Jr. is fifth from Pablo Sierra and Daf Sanchez. Then it's Inokui Revo on the back of the Nissan man. This is going to go to the line, but of course too late to make the move and gets the fastest lap as well. Bastien Tan 10th from Pierre Gasly and Leo. Then it's Mohamed Awawi, Akari, Ukable, and Zaylane. The 16 finishers, your non-finishers in today's race were Daniel Bogdasarov, Oscar Folstad, Tonali Gabo, the Red Devil, Santino Milan at his home race, and Zach Wallace. And if that wasn't one of the greatest races of the season, I don't know what will be. That might have actually just been the race of the season. And look at this from Zaylane, trying to close in on Ukable ahead, but it's not going to be enough. And there you go, official confirmation. Remy Lebeau, in only his fourth start, is a Formula E Monoposto Championship race winner. He wins in Buenos Aires from Tommy and Sebastian Ocampo, who just about managed to stay on the podium despite that 5-second time penalty. Then it's Iron Babinas Jr., Pablo Sierra, Dav Sanchez, Marcus Nelson, Anok Kiwi, Revo, Bastien Tan, the top 10. Outside of the top 10, you've got Leo, Mohamed Nawawi, Pierre Gasly, Akari Lopez, Ukable, and Zaylane. Your finishers. Your non-finishers were Daniel Bogdasarov, Oscar Forstad, Tonali Gabo, the Red Devil, Santino Milan, and Zach Wallace. In the driver's standings, Forstad still leads the way, but there's a tie for second between Ocampo and Marcus Nelson, with only 1 point back being Revo, and another point back you will find Remy Lebeau. This is brilliant stuff from the brand new Quero Renault team. Then it's Iron Babinas Jr., Daniel Bogdasarov, Tommy, Daf Sanchez, Anok Kiwi, Tonali Gabo, Leo Santino Milan, Pablo Sierra, the Red Devil, Ukable, Bastien Tan, and Zaylane, with the drivers still yet to score any points being Pierre Gasly, Zach Wallace, Akari Lopez, and Mohamed Awawi. So in the driver's standings, heading into the next round of the championship, DS Techeetah lead the way from DS McLaren TGR and DS Andretti. Then it's DS Venturi Formula E team, Quero Renault, Renault Edams, Nissan Nismo finally beating out their customers in Sims Motorsport. Then it's Aurelio Pinnacle, Braun Honda GP, and Mercedes EQ. We'll see you guys next time then when the Formula E Monoposto Championship returns.